Scale your business without the burnout. This is the Thriving Business Podcast.
Hello, everyone. Sam and I are back in the studio for another episode of the Thriving Business Podcast. Hi, Sam.
Hi, Kate. How are you?
Good. As always, we're excited because this one is one of our very favorite topics at the moment. It's all about AI, artificial intelligence in small business, which happens to be one of your favorite hobbies, has been for several years now, right, Sam?
It is, Kate. And I love that you call it a hobby because I use AI so much for work, but it does feel like a hobby. It really does.
Yeah, because it's fun.
It is fun. It is fun. And, you know, my lovely husband, you know, sometimes if I'm on my phone in the evening, my brain doesn't stop firing. So we'll be watching TV and I'll think of something and I'm on my phone and he doesn't even ask who I'm talking to anymore. He just, you know, years ago it would be like, oh, you're talking to your best friend or one of our daughters or, you know, something
who
like
you're chatting to, yeah.
Yeah, now it's like, oh, you're talking to AI again. And that's the time I'm like, yes, I am.
Yeah, so, and we were just reminiscing before we jumped on this episode, which this is going to be all about how to use AI systems for maximum efficiency in your business. And yeah, you and I were talking about the evolution of AI just since 2023 when we first started talking about it on this podcast. So we launched this podcast in June 2023. In September was our very first discussion about AI and how it was helping us to accelerate marketing. At that time, we were talking all about how it was making blog writing so much easier and helping us to get away from blank page syndrome when it comes to writing and things like that. And it was very much about generative content creation. At that stage, image generation wasn't really a thing in September 2023. It was all just about the words. And then we fast forwarded, I think we did another one in January 2024. And we were just laughing, looking back at the evolution and how far it's come in such a short time. So in 2.5 years since we first started talking about it, it has evolved at a spectacular rate, where we're now talking about agentic AI and everyone is now harnessing AI in their business for good or for good or for bad. And we can talk all about that. Yeah. So, it's been quite an amusing process to just look back at the past conversations we've had and how outdated they already are now after just 2.5 years.
Yes. And that is the first sort of secret to successfully using AI, I think, is to not become so attached to one particular AI that you discard the use of any others, and also feeling like you've got this ridiculous commitment to one particular artificial intelligence platform when in fact the best use is to have multiples because different AIs have different strengths.
That's right. And we'll get into that, won't we? Yeah. And I mean, most people...
I'm ready to go, Kate. I'm already into it.
Let's do it. Most people the throwaway line these days I hear from everyone everywhere is, oh, I asked ChatGPT to do that. And I just think, wow, try the others. There's, there's NotebookLM, there's, Claude, there's Perplexity, there's Google Studio. There's so many. So we'll get into the different types and what they're best used for.
Yeah, I feel like it's like, oh, you're showing your age if you're still on ChatGPT.
Yes, it feels so 2024 or something. If someone says that, I think, oh, bless, you're still on ChatGPT. Yeah. And then with all the sort of political controversial stuff that's happened with OpenAI, which is ChatGPT over the last several months, that's sort of, they've gone out of favor for a lot of people as well, just in terms of their moral stance or lack of moral stance in the US military spheres. But that's not something we're going to touch on. We're going to stick to efficiencies in business. And I really liked this quote because, of course, we used AI to come up with some good talking points for this.
As we do.
I mean, you and I use it all day, every day in our business, so there's plenty to talk about. But it is, as we know, AI is really helpful for giving you structure around your thoughts. And as we were doing the the content for this. I loved how it broke down for me. There's 3 ways you can use it. You can create content, you can use it to think about things, so doing research, analysis, brainstorming, and you can use it to automate. And most people currently are only using AI for the create part. Lots of people having fun with that. And I know, by default, they are using it to think as well. But automation is where you get the really big gains. And I think that's what you're keen to talk about too, Sam.
Yes, because I said this to you earlier, Kate. The problem that we have is that for many people that even adopting AI and agentic AI, we are just increasing our capability and our productivity. We aren't using it, which is, we should be using it, but we aren't using it to work less. And I
That's
think
right.
that's the problem.
True. Yeah. And my comment was, it's like productivity on steroids, isn't it? You can just get so much more done in such less time. Like if you think back to the old days, it used to take us half a day to write a blog.
Oh, yes. I remember years ago, Kate, when I first started, entered the world of coaching. And, and you're such an amazing writer. And I remember contacting you and asking you how long it took you to write a blog. Because it was taking me it was taking me like a day and a half to write a blog.
Wow.
And I was like, Kate, how are you doing this in half a day? I wish I could write a blog in half a
And now
day.
it's half an hour or less to get a really good one,
Well, not even that, Kate, and we're going to get to that too, aren't we?
Yeah. I mean, that comes with the caveat of it has to be infused with your human voice, and it typically always takes me quite a bit of time just to make sure it sounds like me and it's human. But yes, we'll get into that. Yeah, and then the other great sort of concept that I use, Claude, of course, my favorite, I think people know by now, the human in the loop principle. So AI ideally should be handling the 80% of grunt work while you handle the 20% that requires judgment, relationships, and nuance. So all those things like client communication, sensitive decisions, anything that needs your authentic input and voice, they are all the things you should be spending your human time on. But yeah, ideally, the grunt work could be done by AI.
Yes.
So where do we start, Sam?
Oh gosh, where do we let's talk about, first of all, let's talk about broadly the AIs that we ourselves are using.
Yeah.
Because there are a few.
There are, yes.
So you've already said that Claude is your favorite. Have you tapped into Claude Cowork?
No, I have not yet.
Oh, Kate, come on.
What am I missing out on?
Do you have a paid Claude account?
I do, yeah.
Well, then Claude Cowork is absolutely available to you.
Okay.
You need to jump onto YouTube or onto social media because, like TikTok and Instagram, of people with quick tips and things like that to start using Claude Cowork. So Cowork is the agentic side of Claude. It is you can set it up to automatically perform tasks and things like that.
Okay, right. Got it. All right. Yes, see, I'm already behind.
So you really want to get into Cowork, and it is only available for paid accounts, and it isn't available on, for example, mobile.
Yeah.
So you need to be on your desktop. But yes, it is absolutely phenomenal what you can get it to set up to do. So there is a whole library out there of little instructions and I call them little brains because they're just little areas of expertise, and you can pull those into your Claude Cowork and set it out to go and do work.
Okay, brilliant. All right.
So the smart people and the coders and everything have already done a lot of legwork for the layman, and all you've got to do is, basically go in the back end and tick boxes of which things you want to access.
Okay.
Marketing in particular.
Is this like agentic AI? We've done an episode on 6 months ago or so ago, but that's probably already outdated now. And at the time we were talking about Sintra, which had all the had the 12 different AI bots, which had a copywriter, a social media content creator, an SEO specialist, So are you saying that Claude Cowork is similar? It's got all the different specialized agents, or Is it more?
No,
No, okay.
no, it operates quite differently. It's still the same in as the agents will do the word. I hesitate to use the word agents. Claude Cowork is this space that has the capability.
Right.
Please don't kill me, all the AI experts who could probably explain this so much better.
Yeah.
But yes, we're I think Sintra is very much targeted at people who really want the work siloed, and that's why they've got these specialist agents in there, whereas Cowork is just a broad space.
Yeah, and it's saying that it takes on complex multi-step tasks and executes them on your behalf. So you can
Yes.
describe an outcome you want, step away and come back to finished work, formatted documents, organize files, synthesize research, and more. You can schedule tasks, get it to complete work for you automatically. Right.
Yes. So the very, I started with step one because, they give you a couple of things to try and play around with it. So yeah, the first thing I did was like, okay, the first thing it says is organize all the files. And I'm like, yeah, filing system's a hot mess. So I got it to redo my entire filing system. It recognized duplicate files. It did all of those wonderful things.
Wow.
In such a short amount of time.
Yeah.
Which I've subsequently, added a whole heap more files, so I need to run it again. But yeah, it's little things like that.
Because it's got direct local file access. It can read and write to your local files without manual uploads or downloads. That's mind-boggling.
Yes. Yes. So it'll ask you what folders you want and how you want it structured, and then it just goes and does it.
So it can do that with Google Drive? Or is
I started just with my local drive.
Okay, local, yeah.
Yeah.
The next thing would be interesting if we can do a SharePoint and Google Drive and things like that.
Well, funny you should say that. Because I have been doing that Claude, one of my favorites, absolutely love Claude, but I also love Gemini.
Yes. So let's perhaps back it up a bit and talk about, you and I predominantly use, well, speaking from personal experience, Claude is amazing for content creation in terms of words, and I'm using it to write 2 books at the moment to help with drafting and writing books, and it's very good at critical analysis of pieces of work that you submit to it. It points out where you're missing things, or so great for that. I also use it for data analysis. You can upload spreadsheets, you can upload bank statements and say, tell me how much I'm spending on groceries this month, how much is my son spending on my card. Yeah, it's very good for all the small business grants. I was using it for analyzing profit and loss statements. And so in my world, I use it a lot for content creation from a words perspective. It's getting better at image generation, but that's not its strength. And then the whole data analysis and data organization. So tell us then, Sam, do you use Claude for anything else? And then how is Gemini different, and what do you go to Gemini for?
Yeah, so Claude is well known to be to process things the most human-like, which is why it is so good at copy.
Yes.
It is most in tune with human psychology and things like that.
I agree. It's a great counselor.
So good. Yes. So here is one thing. Claude is not great for image creation.
No, it's not.
We all know that. And, like when I've had it assist me in the past with landing pages and things like that, what it will create as an artifact, there's no imagery and it just hasn't been good. So here is where you are absolutely going to love Cowork. Cowork blows that out of the water. So,
and is that because it's connecting you with other apps that have those strengths? Is that what it's doing?
I didn't even connect it with anything because I was playing with it. And I'm like, I need this sales page. What can you do?
Okay.
This is the product. I need the sales page. This is the brand. I mean, I have all that built in. It's already got my brand guidelines.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I used Claude to nut out the product and the offer and what it was going to look like. And then I'm like, okay, pick that up, pop it into Cowork, make the sales page. Oh my God, absolutely phenomenal.
Right. So what is it doing different to Claude General then, if in the co-work space?
It just has access to things that Claude doesn't necessarily
Right.
do.
Yeah. So it's that external access to other things that can do the job better. Because I have
Yeah,
noticed
like
sometimes
it's
when I've
tapping into Nano Banana for the image
yes,
creation and things like
I've
that.
noticed that. Yeah.
It's I don't understand fully why that just isn't a part of Claude.
I
I
think
don't know
it's
why it is a separate thing, but look, it is absolutely phenomenal.
yeah, okay. I
You
have
know,
noticed even lately when I ask it to create an image or an artifact, it created a PDF for a brochure, a sales brochure for me yesterday. It wasn't bad. It's getting better, I think. But
yeah,
I could see it
do it in
doing,
Cowork. Oh, Kate,
yeah, okay. But I
it
could see
will.
in the fine print it was saying accessing Nano Banana, which is the image
Yeah,
generation, which is not an Anthropic product, is it? So I think it's got relationships with other AI providers that it's bringing in.
yeah. But no, what it will create in Cowork will blow your mind.
Okay,
It is
well,
so
all right,
good.
challenge accepted.
Yeah, get in
Um,
there.
yeah, okay. So we probably could share some examples of where we're using it to massively help our productivity. So, for example, we're using all these apps to produce this podcast. So
Correct. Yes.
previously, we had to use a virtual assistant who would do the editing, the stitching of all the files together, the polishing. And there used to be a lot of effort required by an editor, a sound editor to polish the sound so that it's good quality. That is all AI generated now at the click of a button. You simply upload the file, ask it to polish, and you have a really high quality audio file as an output.
Yes. Yes, it is so easy. It's insane.
Yeah. And I feel bad for the virtual assistants that, used to get paid to do this work, but they're evolving into a different space now where they're helping small business owners actually harness these tools. And it's a good thing. It just means, as we said before, we can all get more done in less time. So,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. And
Sam,
look, there
tell
are
us.
people out there that won't want to use the AI themselves, and that's where the VAs come in. But
Yeah.
bear in mind, they are now highly capable because they have access to the same AI tools that we all do.
Yeah, every VA now has to be on the cutting edge of all the AI tools, and they're helping clients figure out what's the best tool to use for the goal that they have.
Yes.
But Sam, tell us about how you managed to miraculously just generate an intro and an outro for our podcast. Plus, it generates thumbnails each time with AI images of you and I.
Yeah. Oh gosh. I I want to say in this conversation, I want to not ever wear the label of expert when it comes to
Yeah.
AI.
No, we're clearly not. Yeah.
Clearly, no, exactly. Clearly, I'm not. I like to refer to myself as an explorer, not an expert.
Yes, a cutting edge explorer. You are always on the edge, Sam, and you're always one step ahead of me, as evidenced by this conversation. Yeah.
Yes. So look, there are a number of image generation tools out there, and I always like to find the free ones and use those simply because most of the people that we work with need the free tools. That they don't have the budget for much more than that.
Yeah.
So I have been using a free version of, I don't even know how to say it. I don't know if it's Rev or Rev. It's REVE. I use that. It is free. So there are limits to how many images you can create.
Yeah.
But having said that, if you go in once a day, it's going to give you 4 or 5 images. Like how many?
That's a straight AI image generator, right?
It is, yes.
And that's what
how
you
I
use.
created the images of you and I together.
Yeah, which are crazy good resemblances of you and I.
Yeah. And oh, look,
Yeah.
trust me, when I get about 4 good images off that app a day, it generates more. But, sometimes we've got an extra finger or,
Yeah.
sometimes the one eye's a bit round the side of your head a bit too far. So I do need to try this out in Nano Banana because Nano Banana is absolutely phenomenal with image creation, but I have tried it within a couple of different places. Like I've tried it within, for example, Gemini, and it would only create from scratch. It wouldn't take a photo and then
Yeah.
and put me in a different space with different
I've
clothes.
found that a lot of them don't allow you to take a human and do AI images of them, right? Yeah, whereas
But
Reeve
this
does.
Reeve AI does.
Yeah.
Yes, you upload a photo and you say, this person, this is what I want you to do.
Right. And Nano Banana does the same.
It could. I haven't played with that only because, like I say, I've tried to get it to do it from inside of Gemini, and it didn't want to play.
Yeah. Right. So those
And
of
I
you that
didn't
want
go
to.
straight to I didn't go straight to Nano Banana though.
Right. Okay. So it could have the potential. For those of you that want to see some, I'm sure you've seen them all over Facebook and social media. People are posting AI generated images of themselves nowadays. I noticed. But if you haven't seen how you can use it on websites, go to our website at thrivingbusinesspodcast.com,
Yes.
and that entire site is AI generated. The layout, the content, right, Sam? You got that was in Wix, AI using Wix website builder. And I was amazed overnight you had built a website and for our podcast. And it had AI generated imagery, and all I had to go in and do was just tweak the wording in places and make it a bit more, our voice. But the speed at which you got that website up was just blew me away. Because that normally, up until now, building a website is a 3-month job, or in working with a client to get that right. But now the AI web builders, they know if you feed it good information, it can spit out your copy, it can give you branding, it can give you layouts, suggested page structure to sell. Yeah, quite mind-blowing.
Yes. And even, what on the topic of websites, even as far as entering your URL into an AI and asking it to review your site for SEO. And I'm talking basic SEO, like it'll tell you, you don't have a H1 on this page, but you've got 3 H1s on that page. You don't have meta descriptions, you don't have alt descriptions on your images and alt tags and all of those basic things that anybody can do if they've got access to the back end of their website.
Yeah.
And AI can tell you to do all that.
Yeah.
And so much more. There's particular people I follow on social media that give the most amazing tips on how to do all of this stuff.
Yeah.
I love that none of us have to be experts, actually. Just have to be willing to try things out.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So website builders, definitely one area where it's quite amazing how quick you can get a website. Again, you need to have foundational marketing knowledge to do it well, as always. But so going back to Gemini then, Sam.
Yes.
How do you use, because I do have a colleague that's his go-to for everything. And what do you see its strengths over Claude?
What I find really fun in Gemini is you have the ability to create gems. And gems is for anything that you do on repeat. So, for example, every week I need to process payroll.
Yeah.
So I need to go through timesheets and calculate things and, work out breaks and how many hours people worked and all that sort of stuff. And I used to do all that in an Excel spreadsheet with, formulas and all that sort of stuff. And it was me doing data entry, all of that sort of, the old-fashioned way. I started using AI to perform the calculations. And then when I jumped on Gemini, I was like, I can create a gem. So I literally just wrote out the instructions based on the award. This is how many hours a day someone can work before they hit overtime, and these are the rates and all that sort of stuff. All I do now is upload. I click on my gem, upload this week's timesheet, and then AI within seconds has told me what everybody's done.
Wow. So this is an example of automation that does the 80% grunt work that we talked about at the beginning.
Yes. And I could take it a step further and automate the timesheet automatically sending over. I could set up Make Zapier or something like that. I haven't done that just yet. But yeah, little things like I say, it's just a specific set of instructions instead of doing that every single week. And, like you could do it in the same chat, but
Yeah.
the chats get very long. And, like, for example, in Claude, the longer your chat, the more credits it chews up.
Yeah. It has
So
to
you need to,
compact the conversation and
yes. So having this gem with this very clear set of instructions that don't change.
So that was going to be my question. How doesn't Cowork now serve the same problem in Claude? You can,
Yeah, but it's just a matter of where do you want to work?
yeah. But now that Claude has introduced Cowork, you could technically do that same process you just mentioned in Cowork.
Yes, you could. Yeah.
Okay. It's a preference thing, personal preference.
Well, yes, it is. I think I do like to go to Claude for the more human conversations I need to have.
Yeah, okay.
But
data,
functionality, I'm just going to Gemini, and also talking before about, like Cowork can organize all the files on your computer. Today in Gemini, I was like, my inbox is turning into a hot mess. So Gemini is connected to, Gemini is connected to all of my Google apps. So I'm like, oh, I need to be organized. Like, I've got things in so many different spaces. I just want to be organized. So Gemini then went through my inbox and sorted out and said, oh, did you know you've got this email here? And emails get lost. I don't know. They just don't always go to the inbox. So it sorted out my emails for me, and I was like, I've got to get this done. I've got to get that done. So it started adding things to Google Tasks for me, and I'm like, make sure it's going to send me reminders. But what's good about it is that as I think it, I just have Gemini open. As I think, oh, that's right, I've got to remember this. I throw it straight in, and then it's sending things to my calendar, sending things to my task list, doing all of that work for me.
Yeah, okay. So I guess it does depend on which system you use as your main architecture, doesn't it? I know there's a lot of businesses that use Microsoft Copilot. Yeah. Same deal, I imagine, with them nowadays, that all this functionality we're talking about, Copilot can serve the same purpose.
Yeah, and I think it's like, it's a Apple versus Android thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I do have, yeah, exactly. Because I do have Microsoft, like I do have Office 365 or whatever the latest iteration of that is called. And I do have Outlook. And I don't like Microsoft. I just don't. It is user preference.
It is, yeah. I mean, I'm like you. I use Office 365, but I really miss my Google Calendar.
Yeah, and so and look, PSM has been using a Microsoft since the day dot.
Yeah, because that's the corporate system back in the day, wasn't it?
Yeah. And every year when the renewal comes up, I have this, standoff with the IT guy because I'm like, everything is over in Google. You realize that all of the storage and everything in Microsoft is not being used because I'm a Google girl.
Yeah.
What can I say?
Yeah.
And I'm running the ship. So as far as that side of things goes, so I'm like, no. And he always argues that his side because he's a Microsoft man.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess for everyone, it does come down to individual preference. And then within that system architecture, whether it's Google or Microsoft or Anthropic or, and some of them can now all interface.
Yeah.
It's about finding the tools that work for you within that preference that you have. Yeah. Because, getting my colleague who's a massive like you, he's a Gemini fan, he's a Google fan. Getting him to move away from that is he's not going to because he just loves it so much and he's found his way with it, and that's the thing. It's find your way with one type of system. Try the different ones, whichever ones you have access to by default, and try it out. And then if you can't get what you need, go external. But if we go back to Sam, some of the ways we were talking about how we've pretty much gotten the production of this podcast down to a fine art in the last few weeks, months using AI. We can do that pretty efficiently now. we could even set up SOPs, standard operating procedures, in Cowork or in Google Gemini, right? And there's possibly more layers of that you and I could do to automate the production.
Yes, funnily enough, Kate, that was the conversation I was having with Gemini this morning.
Right.
Because and my conversation with Gemini was that my work is chaotic, and that's the fault of the way my brain works. But I have things everywhere.
But you've got ADHD, isn't it, Sam? Is that or not? But
I'm not diagnosed, Kate.
Yeah, but I remember you saying
all my kids. Well, most of my kids have got it.
Yeah. Where did it come from?
Either I've got it or I'm attracted to men with ADHD.
Yeah, and you true. It's your husband's fault. But anyway, so you're not ADHD, but you have this brain full of a million things at any time.
My ADHD friends, when I catch up with them, I'm like, and they joke around with me and they're like, you kind of got your diagnosis yet?
Yes. Anyway, you were saying you always have a gazillion things going on in your brain at any time. Yeah.
And because I just love, the shiny new toy in the AI world, so I'm constantly testing different things that I see pop up. So my conversation with Gemini this morning was about how to calm that chaos.
Right.
And I'm like, I use this app here and that app there, and how can I automate and streamline this? And this is where it's like, people need to use AI in this way, because instead of me having to figure out how to do it,
ask AI to help figure it out. Yeah.
I said, Gemini, what can we do here? These are all the things that I'm using. Which parts of this process can I automate? How can I set this up? And so it has given me step-by-step instructions to go into make. And part of, there are certain parts of our podcast production that can 100% be automated using the tools that we currently use.
So that's an ongoing work in progress for us, because we've done all the experimenting to find the tools that we need. Now it's about automating that process.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then just, sitting down for half an hour and following the instructions that I've been given and actually setting up the automation in Make.
Yeah. Right. So I think that's the gold for most small businesses. We all can do the content creation. We know that it can help us with copywriting and all of that sort of thing. It's the automation that I think is going to be the real freedom creator. It's just, as you said, Sam, then it's about actually working less rather than just piling more into the day, because you can do more. But do you think
even having, I was talking about how I was getting Gemini to add things to my tasks, so I didn't my Google tasks, so I didn't forget them. And I'm like, I have to do this every week, and every week I'm like, oh, I was supposed to do that today because it's Monday. So even in as far as getting Gemini to review my regular tasks and tell me which of these am I doing that could be automated, and if that can be automated, tell me how.
Yeah. So that is a really good point in this whole thing. Is I think that's the beauty of AI and why I find it so much fun. It is like having that private coach in your pocket that's like, hey, I've got this challenge. How do I do this? And I did a whole, workover of my own website last week, and I just got it, as you said, critique. Where is this working? Where am I losing? Where's the conversion going down? And it's like your personal assistant. The amazing thing it also does, it can write code for you.
Yes, it can.
And that is a game changer. And people think, oh, that's scary, but it really is. If you have a WordPress website and you need to do something, what I was trying to do was a logo slider of all the businesses I've helped. And just for the credibility piece. And there was no free plugin that did that easily. I tried a few different plugins, and I went to Claude and I said, I want to do this logo slider. Oh, great. How big do you want it? And it wrote the whole code for me. I went into WordPress, inserted a code module, copied and pasted the code from Claude, and now I have a fancy logo slider
That's amazing.
I know. So things like that, it's like, oh my gosh, I've got all this potential at my fingertips now.
Yeah.
And there is going to be an adjustment, because I'd been quoted $10,000 to do all the updates to my website that I needed to do. and I ended up doing it myself with Claude, and it took me a day. So there is that, but still, if you're just a little bit tech savvy, you can get so far with AI tools these days.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So do we talk about the good and bad as well? For me, there are some key tells now when something is AI generated, and it can be a big turnoff. I had to do a deep dive into how to pick AI when I did a workshop for a not-for-profit up in Northern Territory, and it was about learning to see where people are giving themselves away in terms of, we can tell you've AI generated this, and there's a few of them. So obviously the M dash is a big one, the long horizontal stripe that everyone uses everywhere. We've talked about that before as a key giveaway of AI.
Yeah. There are certain words that all of them, it seems, and Claude does it as well. There are certain words that it uses in marketing copy that it just won't shake.
Yeah, even if you ask it not to use it.
Yes, and when you see it, honestly, I do cringe, and that's coming from someone who uses AI as a starting point for all my copy.
Yeah.
But please, the easy thing to do, Kate, this is what I do. This is where my time is contributing to copywriting, is that I read it out loud, and I'm like, if I wouldn't talk like that, I'm not writing like
That's
that.
a great test. Read it out loud. Do you talk like that? No, don't write like that. That's true. Yeah.
I don't say fluff.
Yeah.
And all the AIs in the marketing's like, no fluff, no fluff. I never say that. I don't think I even know anybody that ever says that.
What are some of the other words that you find are key giveaways?
Oh, another one that I hate is, you're not XXX, you're just XXX. That is so classic AI. Stop.
Classic AI is, it's not this, it's that.
Yeah.
And I see everyone doing that everywhere, and they don't realize that we can tell that's AI generated.
Yeah.
So that's classic AI. It's not this, it's that, or it's not that you're this, you're that. That's classic. And then it does things in threes as well. So it'll say, I'm trying to think of an example, take the stress out of your bookkeeping, bills paid on time, accounts reconciled immediately, and a third one. It always does.
And look, it is tapping into very specific copywriting rules.
Yes.
And that's an example of it tapping into the rule of three, which are very well-known concepts.
And it does work. It works. Yeah.
Yes, but they are on overkill when it writes.
Yeah, when you see that too often, and it'll be or a 5 or a 7, it's always in, and it's in odd multiples, and that is a standard copywriting rule that you and I know from way back, and it does work psychologically. If you put 4 bullet points, it's just not this. Our brain doesn't react the same to it, right? It likes 3s.
But it's the strategic use of those rules that I think AI can struggle with, and that's where, we can see it jumping out at us on social media and on websites.
Yeah, when
the rules are just overused and copy is overstructured based on those rules.
That's right. Yeah. So just be wary, I guess, when you're using AI, of these patterns that it tends to follow, and of it being too obvious that, it's great to use it as a tool, but I think that's a great test. Do you talk like that? Would you talk like that? And if so, don't write like that.
No. And I think this is a great segue into NotebookLM, Kate.
Okay, let's do it.
Because I'm like NotebookLM's #1 fan. I love it so much. The thing that I love about it is that whatever you upload into NotebookLM, that is what it is using to create. And it doesn't get artistic with the usage of words or the framing of words, because it is drawing directly from what you've uploaded. So if you've recorded a video, you throw your YouTube link in there. Oh, bless you. If you have written something or you've got a transcript, you upload it and then it'll write for you, but it's using your language.
Yeah.
And this is where I love it for that point of difference.
So give us an example of where you would use it, what you would use it for.
So, for example, this podcast.
Yeah.
So what I do is I take the transcript that Buzzsprout gives us.
Yeah.
And I put that as well as the link to the episode, the audio link from Buzzsprout. I don't know why I put both. I just find that, I don't know, NotebookLM likes more than one point of reference.
Okay.
But I upload them and then, let NotebookLM do its thing. And what I love about this, and I haven't got around to uploading onto our site yet, but it is there is a part of NotebookLM called the studio. And inside the studio, you can create a variety of things. It'll even create a podcast episode from our podcast episode,
Oh, yeah, with AI generated voices.
Voices, yes. And it will write blog posts for you and create infographics and do all of that stuff.
So NotebookLM is really good for taking sources of content that you feed it and turning it into different things. So it's great for repurposing. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes. Now, if we think outside of the realms of just, its ability to generate more content from one source content, which is great for business, but it is also great for our own learning because, there are different kinds of learners, and particularly as adults, we're not in school anymore. But if we want to learn how to do something, we can upload the well-known sources into NotebookLM and it will break it all down for us.
So you can say, here's a YouTube video, it's 2 hours long and it's teaching me how to do this task. Can you break it down for me into 5 simple steps? Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Or, like if you're a visual learner, here's the source, I need an infographic so that I can understand this, my brain works.
So we'll take an academic paper, for example, and turn it into an infographic so you can understand it.
Or a podcast made just for you.
Yeah. Oh, so you can listen to it if you're an audio learner. You can listen to it as you're driving.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah. It'll create a slide deck for you.
So this is great for those if you know what your favored learning style is. So if it's visual, if it's audio, what they're the only two, aren't they? Visual, audio. Yeah, they're the two main ones, aren't they? But whatever you
the people that learn by doing aren't going to be helped by NotebookLM.
Yeah, got it. Yep. The tactile people. I thought I knew I was missing one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and I know a lot of people say I haven't read your book because you haven't got an audio version yet, because they don't read, they want to hear the audio. So if you're an audio person, you could feed it all this stuff and say,
I now really want to do that, Kate. We should do that, and we'll put the link. We'll do a podcast version of your book, and we'll put the link on the website for people.
Oh, that's such a good idea.
How fun would that be? It's not going to be the entire book. It's just going to summarize it in a short, 4 to 5. The long version is only about 4 to 5 minutes, I think.
That's actually insane. I've only just thought of the fact that you can turn a book now into an audio, and it could probably simulate your voice, can it? If you give it some...
No.
Not really, but still.
Look, that is probably coming. At the moment, you can't... It struggles, even if you give it brand guidelines, for slide decks and things like that. It's still really, I haven't had a lot of success with getting it to follow those. But look, the way things are going,
wow,
that's probably going to be a thing.
Yeah.
It's Google, they love doing all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. So, I'm just blown away suddenly thinking this book that we are writing, these 2 books we're writing, we can turn them into audio books. It's super easy with NotebookLM.
Yes. And look, Kate, you could even just upload 1 chapter at a time and get that podcast recording per chapter rather than, 4 minutes to cover the whole book.
Wow.
Break it down.
The mind boggles. Well, we have to wrap this episode up, and we haven't even scratched the surface, I feel like. But what are the key messages we want people to take away from today on AI and efficiency in business?
If we can just get people to stop moving to start moving from a place of asking, can you rewrite this? Asking, can you do this? To treating it much more like your assistant. Go and do this for me, go and do that for me, and stretch yourself and try some different AIs outside of ChatGPT.
And maybe even before that, help you figure out which tasks you can do. Like you said, you had that conversation with around find the repetitive tasks I'm doing. How can I make my work life easier? What do you propose I do? Which systems should I use? Using it to do that thinking work.
Yeah.
Because people get so much decision fatigue or overwhelm in trying to figure out which systems to use. And we probably haven't helped them today because we've given them so many, but
no, but that's why they're going to come to the workshop, Kate.
Oh, yes. Thank you for reminding us. 20th of May, we have a workshop coming up where you can come with all your questions about AI, profit first, pricing structure, all the things related to profitability in this podcast series. So that will be your chance to, come along and ask your questions, get our experience to help you find the answers. And by then, that's a month and that's 6 weeks away. Things will have evolved again, but rest assured that Sam will be doing the research and figuring it out. So
yeah,
between
maybe I'll send an AI version of me to the workshop now.
Yeah.
That's a little bit too advanced for me, but
that is what a lot of coaches are doing, aren't they? And making a lot of money off it. They're creating bots, coach bots from their own. So they're taking something like NotebookLM, feeding it their whole course curriculum or all their coaching modules, all their stuff, and turning it into live chatbots that people can interact with based on your knowledge. So that's another whole realm that I see a lot of people doing. Yeah. So hope that was helpful. As we said, please do come along to the workshop if you need help deciphering exactly what's going to work for your business. But in the meantime, have fun experimenting.
Yeah, please do.
Thanks so much, everyone. See you again very soon. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
You've got the strategies, now let's build the systems. Whether you're joining our workshops or transforming at our Bali Business Retreat, we're here to help you scale without the burnout. Visit thrivingbusinesspodcast.com to join our community. Until next time, keep building a business that thrives.